Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over Winter Storm Xylia, which is currently in parts of the western United States, and that's going to be heading through the Rockies, potentially dumping upwards of 4 feet of snowfall onto some of those areas, and then heading eastward into parts of the northern plains, and then into the northeast where we have our next threat of some snowfall. We're going to be going over when and where some of that snowfall will be taking place. We'll also talk about those severe storms at the end of today's video, and we're generally going to be breaking down what you should be expecting from this big winter storm. So here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. It is actually quite active over much of the country. We have some winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in effect for parts of the southwest, mainly in most of those higher elevation regions. We have red flag warnings in effect for New Mexico and Colorado, as well as for another area, believe it or not, in Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and also a little bit of West Virginia as well. We have flood watches in effect for parts of Kansas, southern Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and western Kentucky. And we also have winter storm watches in effect for parts of Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado, and I believe also for one county in Utah there. And that's from that winter storm that we're going to be talking about in today's video. We have wind advisories up for parts of northern Michigan, northeastern Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan as well. And then also scattered through parts of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and also into a little bit of Missouri there as well. So your high temperature for the entire continental United States yesterday was in Zapata, Texas. They got to 94 degrees Fahrenheit, and the low temperature was tied between two areas in central Idaho. Copper Basin, Idaho, they got to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and Stanley, Idaho, also got to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest precipitation report, which is the melted precipitation, was 2 miles, or actually right near Chalk Mountain, Colorado. They got 2 inches of rainfall, and the high snowfall report was 1 mile west of Donner Peak, California, where they got 15 inches of snowfall. And again, all of that snowfall that was out through the western United States, that's heading eastward, and that's the storm that we're going to be talking about in today's video. So let's start taking a look at what some of these models are showing. We're going to first show you what the European model is showing, and in order to understand what's happening with this event, we need to understand what's happening a little bit higher up in the atmosphere. We have your low pressure, your general area of storminess and low pressure back down through here. We have a high pressure, or an area of cooler and chillier air that's actually back through. In this case, actually, it's bringing in some warmer air. So that warmer air is back through into parts of the central part of the country, right through here. That's going to be heading further to the east. It's actually going to pull down some cooler air as we get later on in time, and you're going to see that transition a little bit later. And then we have this wound up system, which is back through into eastern Canada, that's going to stall everything out. So that's why this is going to sit over the Rockies for a couple days and then eventually move out. It's all because of this kind of pattern that we have set up, where we have multiple different systems scattered throughout parts of the country and North America in general. So this would be by Saturday morning. We see that storm rising out of the southern United States, heading up through parts of Colorado, Wyoming, Utah. Those areas are seeing snow by this point. Watch out around the Denver area, and actually a little bit north of there. By the way, the heaviest snowfall probably won't just be in those mountainous areas. So when I show you the snowfall maps, even you're going to see some very high amounts right through here. That's not just higher elevation regions. That's also including Denver, Fort Collins, Boulder, Colorado. So a lot of those areas, even in the metro areas in the lower elevations, are going to be under some very, very heavy snowfall. Cheyenne, Wyoming, also going to be under some snowfall. So a lot of these actually fairly big cities are going to be under the gun of some fairly quite heavy snowfall out of this event. This would be by Sunday morning. That entire system, very dynamic by this point, is sitting right through here. That's pulling in warm Gulf moisture out of the south. That's what's going to spawn up your severe weather for the south central part of the country. Heavy to moderate snowfall still for over 24 hours over parts of Colorado, Wyoming, a little bit of western Nebraska, and a little bit of southwestern South Dakota there. We see that high pressure, by the way, is right through here. So we have somewhat of a troughy looking high pressure where it sort of looks like a shortwave trough in the form of a high pressure. Very interesting setup. It's elongated somewhat like this, and that's how that high pressure is set up. It's starting to split apart, and we're starting to see another high pressure start to form right back through here. And all of this is setting up the cold air that's going to be somewhat in place as that heads into the northeast and the Great Lakes. So that low pressure spins around by Sunday night into Monday morning, then going through Monday night into Tuesday morning. Light to moderate snowfall heads through parts of the northern plains. We see some rainfall, heavy rainfall at times through the eastern United States, but watch out for this. So we have this high pressure, which originally again was back through here, shifted further to the east, and now it's just sitting over parts of the northeast. Watch this red line right here. This is your 32-degree line right here. At the surface, it's a bit colder aloft and a bit higher in the atmosphere, so you can still be snowing in this type of scenario at 33, 34, 35 degrees. That's the type of setup that we do have. So you're seeing that by Tuesday morning, we're dealing with some icy precipitation back through some of the valleys in Virginia, West Virginia, into central Pennsylvania. Switches over to snow for, according to the European model, this is where we're having a lot of discrepancy. Right through this corridor from, basically from Iowa through Chicago, back through Detroit, and then back into the Northeast is where we're dealing with the biggest concern and biggest uncertainty. There is, by the way, still that outside chance that even if you get back down through into the mid-Atlantic through this area right here, that you also get a little bit of snowfall. That's what some of the models were showing just yesterday, and the fact that we're still 5 days out from this event heading into that area does give you some potential to still see at least some snowfall out of this event, even if you live that far to the south in comparison to the storm. And the main thing that changed from yesterday, if you guys were looking at the models yesterday, we had maybe 6+ inches for this area. The main thing that changed was that we had a weaker high pressure back through here. That meant that the low pressure back here could move further to the north, and in fact the entire system, the entire area of snow also shifted further to the north. So this would be by Tuesday in the early afternoon according to the European model. Then by Wednesday morning we're dealing with another low pressure developing off the Delmarva. This would be by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Heavy snow back through New England, and then it switches to a bit lighter snowfall. We see another system, very weak system, right behind that. That should bring maybe another inch of snowfall, maybe a quarter inch of rainfall, depending on exactly where you are. Zooming in on the Colorado area, just because if we zoomed out, you really wouldn't be able to get a good idea of what may happen. Here's what the European model is showing for the Colorado area, because this is where the maxed out snowfall totals will be. The Denver area is right around here. So this area is where Denver is, and they're looking at maybe 18+ inches of snowfall, 20+ inches, and then you go just west of there, and that's where you could see some amounts that get maybe upwards of 40 inches of snowfall. So really interesting setup. We haven't seen something like this in quite a while, where you see 40+ inches or 20+ inches at least in some of those lower elevations in parts of the Rockies. So very interesting to see, and it's definitely going to be a very interesting storm to track if you do live throughout that area. If we zoom this out, here's what the entire United States looks like in terms of snowfall. Some of this is from that system that's still wrapping up, so some of that over Minnesota is not all from that system, but we're dealing with mainly that snow back through the northern plains, and then you see another area of snowfall back through the northeast, where we see 2 to 6 inches wherever you actually do get into the heavy snowfall, even some 6+ inch amounts over some of those areas in northern New England. So this could be a very big event. We do have to watch out for this though, because this is going to be a very localized type of event where there's going to be a tight gradient between the rain and snow lines. Here would be what the GFS is showing, and you can see much different. We have a much weaker system with the GFS. We have mainly that snow being reserved to northern New England back through into the Great Lakes, and then of course you have that blockbuster system back through Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and some of those surrounding areas. Here's the winter storm impacts from day 1 through 3. So this is going all the way until I believe this would be Sunday. So from now through Sunday, we have minor risks of winter storm impacts in that yellow. Orange is a moderate risk, and a major risk anywhere in those kind of little dots of red there. That's where we're dealing with a major risk. I wouldn't even be surprised if they actually upgrade some of those areas to an extreme risk, especially in those areas that are getting 40 plus inches of snowfall. Here's the Weather Prediction Center on their 75th percentile, which I like to use the 75th percentile. I find that on their 50th percentile, it's a little bit too low, so I switch it up to the 75th percentile. They have their map showing over 36 inches of snowfall in that kind of golden area in northern Colorado. That is in a higher elevation area, but you get just east of there into the Denver area and that general metro area. That's where we're looking at 15 plus inches of snowfall, 15 to 20 inches at least for those areas. So definitely a very, very interesting setup, and that's from the Weather Prediction Center over the next 3 days, and additional snow will come even after that 3-day marker. Here would be by the day 4 time frame. So this is Sunday, the chance of seeing 2 to 3 inches or more of snowfall. And we're dealing with over a 70 to 90% chance back through Nebraska and Wyoming, still in that dark blue. That's a 50 to 70% chance, so still a fairly decent chance in that dark blue even. Day 5 does lessen, but we have that chance back through into the interior mid-Atlantic, as well as back through into the lower Great Lakes, according to the Weather Prediction Center. This is the chance of 2 to 3 inches of snowfall on Monday. And then here would be the chances if we went to day 6 on Tuesday. I think they could up these amounts at least a little bit, because I think this is a very conservative view on what could happen with this event. I think this is going to be maybe a little bit more widespread than what you're seeing, but the early shot is saying that mainly the higher elevations are going to be seeing the heaviest snowfall, and I would agree with that. I think the higher elevations are where it's going to be more impactful in terms of snowfall. Here's the setup in the upper air, and this is going to be very, very important to realize what's actually happening in the atmosphere. So when you look at this at first, this looks like actually one of those types of systems where you have a setup that could lead to some sort of big snowstorm over much of the coastal Northeast and into the Mid-Atlantic. But one thing is off here, and that's the one thing that's off is that we really don't have this trough sitting already over the eastern United States. You can see how it's kind of just clipping the Northeast like that. This is where your cold air is, in that blue, the kind of green and purple area. That's where you have your low pressure and your cold air. So we don't have that cold air already back through the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. It's much further to the east. So while this does look like an impressive setup at first, this would be by Sunday night. You look at Tuesday morning and you can see that that trough has completely moved out to the east. We have this system right here, and we have some sort of ridging, not really ridging, but actually troughing in the form of a high pressure back through into areas like Quebec and Ontario, Canada. So that is going to be very important. If this is a little bit further north or a little bit stronger, then actually not a little bit further north, but if this is just a little bit stronger, then this entire system goes a little bit further south, and then it's more of a coastal event instead of an interior northeast event like what we're seeing on the current model. So a lot still could change, and also if this goes back a little bit, if this is still lagging behind a little bit, then we also have more potential for a system, especially further to the south. So there are many different ways that could still happen. Here's your look at the severe weather over the next 4 days. You can see that we have a marginal risk for today that stretches all the way from Oklahoma back through into Ohio there. Then as we go into tomorrow, we have a slight risk even up for parts of Texas and Oklahoma, a larger area of slight risk from Kansas down through western and central parts of Texas as we go through into, I believe that would be for Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And then here would be your day 4 outlook, and this is the 15% chance or a slight risk of seeing severe weather on the day 4 outlook. This would be for Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, and that's all the areas surrounding Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and into Missouri, and again some of those surrounding areas as well. If we look at the chances of flash flooding or excessive rainfall, We have a marginal risk out for today, so that's anywhere in that green area for some flooding. That's mainly due to, this isn't really too impressive of a rain event just for today, but it's mainly because there is flooding right along the immediate Ohio River and also some parts of the Mississippi River. So that is gonna, if you get a little bit more rainfall, of course, it could overflow again, unfortunately. Here's the day 2 outlook, and this is for tomorrow, and we're looking at a slight risk, and that extends from Oklahoma back through into Missouri, Illinois, a little bit. Even if I were to extend the screen a little bit further to the east, you would see also parts of southern Indiana and western Kentucky included in that slight risk zone. And then here would be the day 3 outlook, and this is for Saturday, and we're looking at a slight risk, 10 to 20% chance of flash flooding over these areas in central Kansas there. So we do have a fairly decent shot of flooding, unfortunately, over the next couple of days. And if you're wondering why that is, well, you just have to look at the rainfall amounts over the next 7 days. Most of this is going to be happening in the next 5 days, actually, but over the next 7 days, we have multiple areas in southern Missouri getting 5+ inches according to the Weather Prediction Center. Anywhere in the red is expecting 2+ inches of liquid precipitation. Of course, all of that back in the Rockies is in the form of snowfall, but you get back through to the plains, and that's all in rainfall. So when you're getting that much rainfall, of course, there is going to be the risk that you do get a little bit of flash flooding, unfortunately. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.